And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Patrick Ewing episode. The 7-foot, 240-pound center is a zero-time champ, zero-time MVP. He's an 11-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, playing 17 years in the league after being the number 1 overall pick, and he is a Hall of Famer. With career averages of 21, 9, and 2 on 50% shooting. Now, we will kick to none other than the youngster, Drew, who has him ranked the lowest at 45 overall and number 10 on his centers list. Go ahead, Drew.
Well, I think I'm just going to start out with my opening statement on why I have Patrick Ewing so low, which mostly is going to explain why I have him so low on overall as a center at 10. He's my only center that doesn't have a championship, so that's part of the reason why I don't have him, which I thought was kind of cool for the centers, how all of them have that many championships. How when we were talking about Steve Nash last week with all the point guards and how he was kind of in the mix of some people's lists and didn't even have a championship. Patrick Ewing is one of 2 guys on my list that doesn't have an MVP. The second one is George Mikan, which I didn't have the MVP yet when he played, so we don't know if he could have got one or not. So that's why I have Patrick Ewing so low as the center. And then for why I have him so low on other ones, some of it's because some of them had better stats than Patrick Ewing. Some of them just because they had more championships than Patrick Ewing. So we can get more in depth later if you want to talk on specific players.
Fair enough, Drew. I can get behind championship talk. I can get behind that. All right, that will lead us to where Wade should slot in. And I hate to break it to everybody, but Wade is not with us again this week. This is not a permanent thing. Wade is having some difficulties schedule-wise with us. So, but Wade has him ranked 36th overall, so 9 spots higher than Drew, and 8th on his center list, 2 spots higher than Drew. So after that being said, I jump to Uncle Doug, who has him ranked 35th overall and 9th on his centers list. Take it away, Uncle Doug.
Yeah, Wade and I have him pretty close there. Drew kind of stole a little bit of my thunder with the talking about the MVPs and the championships. On my list is similar to Drew's in that Patrick Ewing and George Mikan are my only centers without an MVP. But, of course, when Mikan played, I don't think they had MVPs.
No.
And Patrick Ewing is the only center on my list without an NBA title. So that's why I slotted him in at 9th. Patrick was a good player. He, of course, obviously 11-time All-Star. He was also a 3-time All-Defense. You take a look at his numbers. Career-wise, he's 28th on the scoring list. His average comes in at 46. He's 26th on the rebound list, with his average comes in about 68. He is number 8 on the blocks list, and with his average coming in about 11th. He had one season where he actually averaged 4 blocks a game. So Patrick could definitely play some defense. Good, solid center. The championships, the MVPs, kind of knocked him down on my list. I don't think he ever even finished. I think the highest he finished in the MVP voting was 4th, and I believe he did that about 3 times.
Yeah, he had 3 number 4s and 2 5s, I believe. Yeah.
So, and of course, as we've mentioned before, he had the misfortune to play during the Michael Jordan era. That made it really tough. But solid center. But the lack of championships, MVPs, just knocked him down my list.
Fair enough. That leads us to me, who has him a little bit of a jump up from Uncle Doug. I have him at 30th, so 5 spots ahead on my overall list. But 8th on my center list, so right there with those guys on the center list, really. I will also add that he's the only center on my list without a championship. He's not the only center on my list without an MVP, though. I do have Dwight on my list that doesn't have an MVP as well. But my opening statement really about Patrick Ewing is that he's one of 5 players in his career to score 24,000 points, grab 11,000 rebounds, and block 2,500 shots. He's one of 5 players to ever do that. That list includes, obviously, Ewing, but Shaq, The Dream, Duncan, and Kareem. I thought that was a really cool accomplishment. From 1989 to 1997, the Knicks had the 5th best win percentage in the NBA. And they only had 1 first-round exit during that same time. So I thought that was a nice little thing there, Ewing being their best player, obviously, during that time. But I guess my big thing with Patrick Ewing is I think he is an all-time great, obviously. He made my list. I think he is a person that was hurt by when he played, not just because of Mike, like Uncle Doug mentioned, but because he played almost the exact same time as Olajuwon and Robinson, and Shaq came in a few years later. So we had 4 of the 10 greatest centers of all time playing at the same time, and Ewing just happened to be the 4th one as far as how good they were. So I think if he would have played 10 years earlier, 10 years later, he might have been the best center in the league, or second best center in the league, and it might have made us think of him differently. And I know that's a what-if thing. I realize that. I just think it could have helped his career playing at a different time, not because of rule changes or anything, but just because I think the 90s is the greatest center era ever. And Ewing was part of that, because we also didn't mention Dikembe Mutombo, who is not the offensive force the rest of these guys are, but one of the greatest defenders of all time. And Alonzo Mourning played during that same time. So, I mean, there was, plus, many Hall of Fame power forwards during that time, like the Mailman and Barkley and guys. So it was a big man era during that time, and he was just in the middle of it, didn't necessarily come out on top. I mean, even when Mike retired, Olajuwon's the one that stepped up and won those championships, and one of which over Ewing. I mean, they met in the finals, and Olajuwon won. So, I mean, that's really my opening statement on Patrick Ewing. I'll get more into the nitty-gritty of it in a little bit. But that's my opening statement, which leads us to Ray, who we're going to take another sizable jump here and jump all the way to 20. Ray has him 20th overall and 6th on his center list. So I will say this, Ray. I rattled off centers pretty quick on my list, but you have 6 centers in your top 20. You rattled them off pretty quick too, bud.
Well, that's one of those positions that if you can stay pretty much in home base in a set position and you don't really move anywhere and can be dominant and control the game, that's pretty spectacular. Like, you have the shooting guard, the point guard that are mobile throughout the whole game, but then you have this one position which is pretty much stationary in the post area and can take over a game, then I put you on a pedestal. And that's why I got 6 centers right off the bat on my list. Patrick Ewing, pretty dominant from his college days, where he was just a blocking machine. Block everything. And I was watching something today, and that's all they told him in college to do. It was just block the shit out of everybody. And then he comes to the NBA, and now he doesn't have the greatest squad on the Knicks. I mean, he's got some awesome players like Charles Oakley, but I mean, he's working with the grocery bagger John Starks. You got one of the Harper boys. I mean, we're not talking like major top tier Hall of Famers here, but when you look at Patrick Ewing at that center position, who can take over the whole game and be the best player on your team, that's why he's on my list. And being a Pacers fan, you got to admire the guy and what he did on that team with the squad he had. And, I mean, his accolades, 3 All-Defense and, what was it, Rookie of the Year award. I mean, the dude is just a phenomenal player. And even though without a title, I talk a lot about skill set on players throughout this podcast, and he had the whole package. There was times in his career that, maybe he didn't make the final shot. There's a lot of Pacers games where, there's one where he didn't get it in there. He kind of choked on a tip in. But you'll have that on every NBA player, great or not, throughout their whole career. You're going to have fuck-up mistakes. But, the only thing that really hold Patrick Ewing back is that, they battled hard, but they can never close it out. And that's probably why he's so low on the list. What was that? I got Bill Russell, Wilt, Jabbar, and then I got Olajuwon at 4. And I think I got Shaq above Patrick Ewing only because of probably titles. But, Patrick Ewing was right up there with the best of them. And that's why I got him on my list, so mid-range there.
Fair enough, Ray. Fair enough. I do have questions for you here in a minute, but since you brought something up, I'll go ahead and elaborate on it. You elaborated on his teams, and I have some stats over here about his teams. I mentioned his heyday in 89 through 97, where they had the 5th best win percentage in the NBA and only one first-round exit. During that time, Patrick Ewing played with 0 Hall of Famers, 0 All-NBA players, and no repeat All-Stars. John Starks made an All-Star game, and Charles Oakley made an All-Star game during that time, but only one apiece. And no All-NBA or All-Defensive Team players, other than himself, obviously. During that same time period, he played with not a single player that averaged 20 points a game. And he played in 20 playoff series during that time, and Ewing was the only Knick to average 20 points in a single series. He couldn't even get a teammate to average 20 for a series.
Yeah.
His best teammates, guys you think of when you think of those Knicks teams, at least what I thought of, John Starks, right? John Starks.
Yep.
John Starks, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists on 41% shooting. That's what he brought to the table. Why he's a one-time All-Star, like I mentioned earlier. Larry Johnson, right? You think of Graham Mall.
Yeah.
Great player.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
no, he already blew out his knees by the time he went to New York, so he wasn't nearly the same
His
player.
best days were in Charlotte.
So while he was in New York, he averaged 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. No awards. Okay. Well, you're like, well, obviously, Alex, he went to the finals with Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell. Those guys got All-Star games. Those guys got good things going for them. Oh, but wait. He didn't get Allen Houston until he's 34 years old. And he didn't get Latrell Sprewell until he was 36 years old. And those guys didn't really start doing anything until Ewing was gone.
Yeah.
He did have 5 years of Mark Jackson, who made Ray's list. During those 5 years, Mark Jackson averaged 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists. So, solid point guard statistics, but nothing to be the second best player on a great team.
Right.
And then let's go with Anthony Mason. Don't forget him.
They try to forget him.
9 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. That doesn't sound like the supporting cast of teams that should go to 2 finals. So I guess what I'm saying is Ewing played with a lot of slop as teammates. And listen to this. This is even more crazy. In 1990, the New York Knicks and Patrick Ewing were eliminated by none other than the Bad Boy Pistons. Does anybody know who won the finals in 1990?
The Bulls?
No, wasn't it Pistons?
It was the Bad Boy Pistons.
Yeah, Pistons.
They were eliminated by the champions. In 91, 92, and 93, they were eliminated by the Chicago Bulls, who won the championship all 3 of those years.
Yep.
Then in 1994, they were eliminated by the Houston Rockets, the obvious champions because they was the finals. So 90, 91, 92, 93, and 94, so 5 straight years, they were eliminated by the champions. While playing with all these guys that can't average double digits and can't shoot more than 41% from the field. I mean, is John Starks not considered the second best player on that first championship team?
Hell no, I wouldn't.
I mean, who do you think, Ray?
Probably Charles Oakley or who was playing point?
Mark Jackson,
Yeah.
probably. Oh no, that was he wasn't there when they won when they went to the championship, was he? It wasn't it Charlie Ward.
No, it would have been
Forgot
Harper.
about Charlie Ward.
Wouldn't have been Harper.
We're gonna have to look at this.
Yep. Here we
Oh
go.
boy. Here we go.
So we're looking at 1994. Was it the 93-94 season?
Yeah, 94. Yeah, the 94 was the finals.
All right. Well, here we are. We have Derek Harper is there, and Doc Rivers is there. That must have been old Doc.
Oh yeah, old Doc.
John Starks is there, like I said. Let's look at some statistics, see who's getting playing time here. I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, these guys are here, and then they would just come off the bench and didn't do anything. Charles Oakley averaged 11-11 that season. John Starks, the best year of his career, 19-5.
Wow.
Ooh. Only made the finals when he actually decided to play some basketball.
Charles Smith averaged 10, and Hubert Davis averaged 11. Nobody else averaged double digits.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Charles Smith, Hubert Davis.
Their leading assist man was John Starks at 5.
Wow.
Okay.
So I also will say this for Patrick Ewing. I'm not trying to argue the fact that he should be moved up because I have him at 8, but his knee problems didn't help his career either. You can literally see where his knee injury happens in his statistics, especially his blocks, and see them drop significantly. He was such a fantastic shot blocker at the beginning of his career, and then all of a sudden, not that he became a bad shot blocker, mind you, but he's at his rookie, 2 and 2, and then he's 3, 3.5, 4, 3, 3, and then boom, we're down in the 2s pretty much for the rest of his career. So there's my talk on Patrick Ewing. The rest of my statistics there on Ewing. Does anybody have anything to add or contradict?
With the all defensive teams, I see why he only had 3. When you've got all those elite centers, I know we haven't talked much about it, but you can't really diss on the guy for having 3 during this era. I mean, if he's
It was nice to have 3.
yeah, it was I thought it was good for him to have 3. I mean, he's obviously having all these blocks, and that's what you want from your big center, but he only has 3 because you've got the Admiral and Akeem and Shaq later on.
Mutombo. Morning's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get. What was it back then? You only had 2 centers back getting.
I mean, it's still only 2. All defensive team was only 2 teams.
So you only had 2 centers each year, and when you're the 4th best center in the league, you gotta.
He definitely controlled the paint.
Oh yeah,
Controlled
for
the middle.
sure.
Now
Mhm.
we've discussed this before, but I was looking at the stats here. 7 foot, 240. You really think only 240?
I was thinking he wasn't 7 feet tall either.
I don't know about that, but
They probably added
he
his
looked
hair.
bigger than 240 to me.
He did look like a big guy.
I mean, if LeBron is what
260.
265,
Yeah.
I think Patrick Ewing could be 265.
I mean, I don't see LeBron pushing Ewing around.
Here's another thing I wanted to bring up real quick. In the 89-90 season, okay, Patrick Ewing averaged 28 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 4 blocks on 55% shooting, and came in 5th in the MVP voting. 5th.
Who's ahead of him?
Well, Magic won the MVP that year.
Okay.
MJ's ahead of him.
All right.
The mailman's ahead of him. I have to go down and look now.
Wow.
5th. Can you imagine somebody in the NBA putting up those stats today and coming in 5th in the MVP voting?
Oh, and since you're talking about MVPs real quick, Jokic got fined. And he's suspended 1 game.
Is he? I knew he would.
And the Morris brother got fined $50,000. Just
to be honest with you, this is the way I feel about it. Now that we're talking about it, this is the way I feel about it. Dirty shots, receive dirty shots.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed.
That was
Exactly.
dirty.
Morris took a cheap shot on Jokic while he was getting blown out and was pissed off, and Jokic leveled him.
Yep.
I'm cool with it.
Yep.
I'm cool with it. Good for you, Jokic. But here's the other crazy thing. After he did it, he shoved him to the ground. And then he was like, no, I'm good. I'm done. He gave his shot. I gave my shot. I'm done. He didn't try and fight him afterwards. He didn't try and fight his teammates. He's like, I'm done. He went and sat on the bench. And after the game, he said, I shouldn't have done it. I was upset. I did something I shouldn't have. I apologized to all the fans, Markieff Morris, all that shit. And then, of course, the Morris brothers get on social media and talk about how they're going to beat his ass and all this stuff. And then Jokic's brothers get on social media.
They create a Twitter account just to do it. It's
and they're
so
like,
funny.
We're here. We're waiting on you. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't think the Morris twins want any part of that.
No.
Anyway, that's.
I want to say that real quick while you were pulling up the MVP stuff, so I figured we mention that real quick since I just got it.
All right, so here's the MVP finishes that year. Magic won. Barkley, Jordan, Mailman, Ewing.
That's a pretty good list.
Would you like to know their statistics?
Yeah.
Magic won the MVP that year, averaging 22 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists, and a steal on 48%.
Okay.
Charles Barkley averaged 25 points, so 3 less points than Ewing. 11 rebounds, same amount. 4 assists, so he did have more assists. 1 steal for both of them. 0 blocks, while Ewing's averaging 4.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Barkley did shoot 60% from the field that year.
60%?
60.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Well, all Barkley's doing is laying it up or taking an
Dunking
elbow
on someone.
jumper.
That's true.
What was Ewing doing? Not like Ewing was standing outside.
Well, I know, but but still, though, that's what Barkley's supposed to do is, make little chip shots down there.
Jordan averaged 33 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, 2 steals on 52%.
Wow.
And Karl Malone averaged 31 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, no blocks. Well, percentage point of blocks. And 56% from the field.
You don't see that. You don't see those kind of seasons, and all in the same season anymore.
And you know who came in 6th? David Robinson. You know who came in 7th? Dream.
Oh, man.
And their stats, David Robinson averaged 24, 12, and 2, 1 steal, and also 4 blocks on 53% shooting, while Dream averaged 24 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 4.5 blocks on 50% shooting.
It's insane.
Man.
All right, so let's take Magic out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think deserved the MVP if Magic wasn't there?
Well, I think statistically, we can argue about it. I think how good their teams were is going to come into this too. Because if your team, sucked, that doesn't.
Right.
I'm sure that
They don't care.
Yeah.
They'll give you, somebody will give you a couple votes, but you're not going to win with a bad team.
By the way, John Stockton's clear down here. He averaged 17 points and 14 rebounds on 51% shooting.
John Stockton?
John Stockton.
Oh, my God.
And he came in 10th.
What?
Oh.
Oh, my God.
Dude, 17 and 14 on 51% is better than both of Steve Nash's MVP years.
Oh, yeah.
What's his assist total?
14. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I thought you said 14 rebounds.
No.
Oh, you had me hyped up
Yeah,
there
I
for a
figured
second.
John Stockton
Like,
got
dang.
MVP. You kidding me? It's ridiculous.
Man,
Hey,
when's the last time you saw a list like that?
it's crazy,
You
man.
probably haven't. You got to give it, honestly, to any of these guys. Well, not Tom Chambers at 8. He doesn't deserve one.
Tom Chambers.
Hey, but even Tom Chambers, 27, 7 and 2 with a steal and 50%. Like,
That's a good season.
and we haven't even got to Larry Bird yet.
Right.
Larry Bird's at 24, 9 and 7 and a steal and 47% shooting.
Clyde's
Holy
at
crap.
23, 7 and 6.
Holy
Yep.
crap.
Isaiah Thomas is down here at 18 points, 9 assists. I mean,
Damn. You could have almost
that's
put a
13th.
dart
That's,
at the
that's
wall.
13th place.
Yeah.
13th place now is like 15 and 5. I didn't know they go down to 13 anymore, honestly.
But anyway, reading that list off made it even crazier. But I couldn't believe it when I saw his stat line from that year and saw that he came in 5th in the MVP voting. And I was like, dude, 28, 11, and 2 with a steal, 4 blocks, and shoot 55%.
And finish 5th.
5th, yeah.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
But then you look at the numbers of the guys ahead of him, and it's like, jeez.
But you
The
don't.
NBA was just crazy.
But you don't expect any less from any of those guys, honestly.
No.
Yeah, I mean, these are all guys at the very top of our list.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking Magic, Barkley, Jordan, Mailman, Robinson, Dream, Bird, Stockton. Like, these are all guys at the top of our list.
They're all way up there.
Yeah.
So
It was just that time period in the NBA, and all these guys were playing at the same time.
Well, I mean, it was a battle. It was a competition. It's just
We weren't joining
They
up on
were-
the same team. We wanted to try and beat each other.
everybody's trying to beat each other, not
Right.
trying to join and then beat up the whole league. Everybody's battling for a paycheck. Nowadays, it's like, okay, yeah, give him a Subway contract, whatever. But,
Where do you want to go this year, LeBron?
yeah.
I mean, the Banana Boat squad.
Hey, speaking of the Banana Boat squad, Carmelo Anthony holding it down right now.
he is.
He's lighting it up. Keep
Oh, yeah.
feeding him the
playing
ball.
good.
They need to bench Russ and let Melo have some more minutes because
Let
Melo
play
is
some more.
balling right now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I have questions, Ray.
Okay. I might have the answers.
So you have Patrick Ewing at 20, like we said earlier. So I'm going to stick with centers for a minute.
Okay.
But you have him ranked ahead of Moses Malone and the Admiral. I guess I'm just asking for your reasoning there.
Moses, I didn't really get to watch the play, so Ewing's got like a little bias there. Plus, I watched all them Pacer series, so I got to see it firsthand there. So I know Ewing a little bit more than the other two. David Robinson, what's he got, like 2 titles?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't get to see him get to watch him a whole lot, so I guess my whole thought process was I got to see Ewing, so I put him above the other 2. But the other 6 ahead of Ewing, I mean, the stat-wise on those 6 are just phenomenal. So, I mean, I don't put titles in high regard, as we all know, but Ewing had one hell of a fucking skill set. And I think it's probably better than those 2. So that's why I got Ewing above those 2.
Well, I will talk about the Admiral for a minute. I got them pulled up side by side. For their careers, they both averaged 21 points a game. Robinson's got Ewing by a rebound and an assist. They both average a steal. David Robinson got a block on him. He shoots 1% higher from the field. They're both very close on free throw percentage. I don't care about that 3-point percentage being centers back then.
Yeah.
They both shoot terrible because they are like, full court heaves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, statistically, David Robinson's slightly better. He has an MVP. He has 2 championships.
But David Robinson also had a partner.
To get his championships, he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ewing did not. And he toughed it out for that fucking 10 years or however long he was in New York. And he stayed loyal to the team.
Well, I mean, Robinson's a career Spur as well.
I mean, that's fine. But, I mean, David had the luck and the luxury to have that Twin Tower partner of, Tim Duncan. Ewing was in there doing it his own damn self.
He was, but that being said, David Robinson won an MVP and a scoring title long before Duncan showed up.
And his defensive player of the year.
He is a defense player of the year, and he also won Rookie of the Year like Ewing did.
Yeah. I would say the Spurs that kind of lucky with this whole situation because David Robinson gets hurt and then they draft Duncan and then they're back and
they got the number 1 overall pick because Robinson broke his foot and missed the entire season. Yeah, it was a pretty lucky
It worked
ordeal.
out pretty well for him.
I would say so.
Well, if we're talking draft and we're talking Patrick Ewing, don't we have to talk about the whole Patrick Ewing going to the Knicks?
The frozen
The
envelope.
frozen envelope. Yeah, I mean, that was crazy back then because everybody talked about, wouldn't it be great if Ewing goes to the Knicks and, gets to play in New York, stays on the East Coast, out there with, all that, the Big East where he had played in college. And then lo and behold, when the draft rolls around, he does go to the Knicks.
Yeah.
So,
And, there was always the rumors, the frozen envelope. I'm not trying to be,
no, I'm not being.
Yeah,
we're
but-
not.
We're
Right.
not big conspiracy theory guys, but
Right.
it's just interesting. And of course, it's something good that everybody talks about with Patrick Ewing.
But, yeah, also have to look at it this way. It may have screwed up Ewing's career.
It may have.
Yeah.
They never put another star with him.
Right.
They essentially asked Ewing to do everything. Hey, anchor our defense and go out and average, 25, 28 a game and carry our offense. And I guess that is one of the big knocks on Patrick Ewing. Did he ever make anybody around him better?
It doesn't look like it on paper. The rest of his team doesn't look great. We discussed this earlier, how none of them barely averaged over double digits. I mean,
Yeah, and Ewing wasn't a big passer.
no.
Yeah.
You threw the ball down to him. He pretty much put it up.
Which, I mean, centers aren't.
I'm not
going to ask them for like 6 assists a game or anything crazy like that.
Well, and you kind of wonder if the Knicks had run an offense more like, and Ewing might not have been able to do what Karl Malone did, but you think if they had Mark Jackson, Jackson and Ewing be like Stockton and Malone, and
I mean,
Jackson definitely had the passing skills,
yeah.
and
Uh,
I don't know that
I don't
Ewing
know.
had as much
He could
game around the basket. or
couldn't
away
shoot
from
the jumper
basket.
like Karl Malone could.
Right, yeah.
And neither could Jackson shoot the jumper like Stockton.
No.
Right.
Right.
May have
Neither of them were the
That's
shooters
true.
like.
So, who else was in that 85 draft with Ewing?
Oh.
That's a great question. I feel like we're missing some big names there.
Well, that's kind of what
I
I
did
mean. He
too.
was,
I'm trying to think who
yeah.
else, like, say, the Knicks don't get the first pick. Who else could have got it, and where else? What
could
his
pick
career
up
look like
that?
with someone else?
Okay, so number 2 was Indiana, who took Wayne Tisdale.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
my God.
Wayman
And-
Tisdale.
And then Benoit Benjamin
Benoit Benjamin,
Yep.
big
Yep.
center.
went to
Yeah.
the Clippers.
Yeah,
Xavier McDaniel went to Seattle.
right.
John Koncak went to Atlanta.
Oh,
Sacramento took Joe Klein.
Yeah,
The
there's another big
Warriors took
7-footer.
Chris Mullen. Dallas took Detlef Schrempf.
Okay.
Cleveland took Charles Oakley. Phoenix took Ed Pickney.
Hmm.
Chicago took Keith Lee. At 13, the Utah Jazz take Karl Malone.
Oh,
That was the steal of the draft.
Wow.
I'm gonna
All
skip.
the way at 13.
I'm gonna skip a bunch of names. At 18, Detroit takes Joe Dumars,
oh,
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Big
Yeah,
Joe.
what a draft.
Holy moly.
and at 23, the Lakers take AC Green,
Oh yeah.
and at
Okay.
24, Portland takes Terry Porter.
Okay. Yeah.
Man, that was quite a draft.
Yeah.
But all late. No, other
Yeah.
than really nobody went early. I'm looking at the second round here. We're looking at Manute Bol in the second round.
Oh, he wasn't the greatest player.
No, but I mean he's somebody we know. Hot Rod Williams went in late second round.
Oh, hi, right.
And then apparently there was a third round back then. But I'm not seeing anybody I recognize. Maybe there's a reason for that.
Round 4.
There's round 4
Oh yeah,
here.
the draft was quite a bit longer back then.
In round 5.
Holy moly, it sounds like the NFL draft right now.
Now there was less teams then. There was
Yeah.
only like 22 teams at this time.
Round 6.
There is round 6.
And that's crazy to me. They have so many rounds and no any G League teams, and then now we got G League teams, and we only go like what 2 rounds?
Yeah. So 7 rounds, and you got to think about this. There was 7 rounds of players being drafted, and this is before we really got European players involved.
Yeah.
I mean, Detlef Shrimp's on here, but he's one of the first ones, really. You know, him and Vlade and those guys.
Well, and just listen to that list. There's a bunch of 7-footers in there.
A ton.
I mean, Koncak, Klein, Benoit Benjamin, of course, Ewing.
You just have to take your chance on one of them, and hopefully they don't get
Well,
it.
and I remember watching Joe Klein and those guys play. Koncak, they were all solid college centers. There was a lot of 7-foot centers back then.
Well, everybody was trying to chase that high of the 100-point, center for like 2 decades. So.
Right. And so, who was it the Pacers took?
Tisdale.
Oh, Wayman Tisdale at Oklahoma.
They played on the Kansas City Kings there for a while.
Right.
I mean,
when did Stepanovich come out of Mizzou?
Oh, I don't
Was that
know.
the year before? Because he went to Indiana, didn't he?
Stepanovich? I don't know. He
Steve
doesn't sound familiar.
Stepanovich?
He doesn't sound familiar.
Because he played with Koncak and those guys and Joe Klein. Because actually, Klein, Koncak, and Stepanovich were all from the state of Missouri.
Mm.
One went to Klein went to Wichita State, Koncak went to SMU, and Stipo went to Mizzou. But and Stipo ended up being like number 1 pick, I thought, by the Pacers.
I don't know because they're so ingrained in drafting from Indiana that if they draft anywhere else, I really don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not having any luck
Because again, he was another one of those big guys that was really good, but a lot of injury problems, I think, when he hit the NBA.
All right, Ray. More questions, buddy. All right. So now I'm getting away from centers. I'm going out and branching out to other positions.
Okay.
Well, first off, just out of a interest here, you have Ewing ranked higher than Reggie.
Yeah.
Why is that? I mean, Reggie's your guy.
I mean, yeah, Reggie is my guy. But I mean, Ewing was pretty fucking dominant.
Oh, he was. Yeah, I'm not doubting it. I mean, I have obviously Ewing ranked higher than Reggie as well. I just, I'm just asking because it's you. So
no, I mean, there was no. I mean, as much as I want to be biased and just say Reggie's ahead of everybody, I can't do that. I mean, I'm not a psychopath, but I mean, you're Charles Oakley. But
Scottie Pippen at 7.
Hey, we're gonna get there later, and I will next week. But I mean, Patrick Ewing was so dominant that you couldn't put him anywhere above, you couldn't be biased with Patrick Ewing because it's just the player he was. So I had to put him above Reggie. I mean, Reggie is phenomenal. And we've all been through that episode, and I've talked to certain people at my job, and he's talked about how he took my side on the situation. But you got to give Patrick Ewing the chops. Whether he's got titles or not, he's just that kind of player that just stood out.
all right. Yeah, like I said, that was just an interest question for me, not necessarily that I disagreed with you. But my next one is you have Ewing ranked ahead of Barkley. You want to elaborate?
Yeah, I think Patrick Ewing's better than Barkley.
Well, would you like to tell us why?
Well, because like I've been saying, he is that dominant player. You can't. I mean, look, you have the Charles Barkley finals team. You had Dan Marley. What was it? Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, Kevin Johnson was there. Dan Marley. Their center was West. Mark West. Was that his first name, Mark?
I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because I remember the Kevin Johnson and Dan Marley and Charles Barkley. And
I think was Rex Chapman there?
Chapman. I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, who was that center for them?
Crap.
What year did they make the finals?
93. Huh, damn it.
Shoot.
But I mean, without even looking at the roster, Barkley had a shooter. He had a point guard. Ewing had mid-range to less than subpar roster at all times. So, I mean, that's why I put him above people, because he was just out there doing it himself. And, I mean, we can look at the stats here. He made, 20-some playoff series for 14 years straight. Like, from 88 to, 2000, he was in the playoffs with a subpar roster at all times. So, I mean, you can't deny what he was doing by himself. And Charles Barkley at least had somebody to support him at some position. I mean, Ewing had support, but it wasn't at any any kind of level that anybody else had. You had Jordan and Pippen, you had Kemp and Peyton, you had Stockton and Malone, and then you had Patrick Ewing and his goon squad.
His goon squad. I like that.
Well, I mean, that was kind of the case I made earlier, that he played with subpar teammates, so I'm not going to argue against that. I don't think Barkley was out there playing with great players, though.
Well, they were above what Ewing had.
I mean, because if our argument includes Dan Marley, I think he lost.
No, but at least he could shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Not to leave you guys hanging, I looked up Stipo.
Oh, okay.
The Pacers took him with the second pick in 83.
83.
2 years before. And he played with them for about 5 years. He had bad knees. And that shortened his career. Back when they had Herb Williams and Clark Kellogg.
Okay. So just a little bit past the ABA days.
Yeah,
a
a couple years before Ewing. But when I looked it up, they mentioned Stipo and Ewing evidently didn't like each other. They were involved in a scuffle. Ewing ended up with an injured elbow and his arm in a sling. Evidently, he elbowed Stipo in the face. Stipo didn't like it, threw Ewing to the floor and jumped on him. They started fighting.
Both
Both benches emptied. The two had to be restrained from going after each other another time during the game. Both got ejected, finally. Ewing got fined $1,500. Stipo $750. And they both got an additional fine for $250 for being ejected.
Oh, okay.
Now, you know what would happen today if that happened? They'd be suspended for
life.
How long?
They'd be in jail.
You know, but yeah. So, I thought that was interesting when I went to look him up. There's the Patrick Ewing story. So,
Wow.
Well, by the way, I was correct. His name is Mark West.
oh, okay.
Okay.
He averaged 5 points and 5 rebounds that the season they made the finals. But at 5.6 rebounds a game, he is the second leading rebounder on the Phoenix Suns behind Charles Barkley.
I was hopefully you were going to say Charles Barkley. If you weren't.
Barkley averaged 12.
Yeah.
But that is Barkley's MVP season, and Barkley was a monster.
Yeah.
You're looking at 25 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, steal and a block on 52%. So he had a hellacious season that year.
And Mike just took it personal. Like normal. He just took it personal.
Yep, he drinks every day and gambles at least one match because of that season. So,
but to talk about Barkley more for a second, Barkley does, for their careers, has a point on him, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Obviously, Ewing has some blocks on him. He shoots 4% higher from the field. Again, I'm not really crazy about their 3-point percentages, even though Barkley did shoot them later in his career.
We'll talk about Charles more, I guess, later. But he's one of those guys that world of talent.
It's so weird.
And it seemed like he never stayed any place long enough.
He had
that they could really build around him.
He had 3 teams that he stayed at for
like 5 years
5
apiece.
years.
Yeah.
It was weird.
And
it's like
so
76ers, 5 years.
Yeah,
Suns.
like you say, that season was phenomenal, and he could play. I mean, Charles, for no taller than he was, could play.
Mm-hmm.
And
I thought it was crazy that when they brought him into Houston that they couldn't win a title there.
He was pretty washed by that point, though.
Yeah, I think
don't
he
know.
was kind of toward the end.
I mean, they were all pretty old by then.
Because I mean, they brought Scotty in that year too.
Oh.
Because it was Olajuwon, Drexler, Scotty, and Barkley were all there.
Geez.
Yeah.
They're the real super team.
They were the pre-Lakers.
But then we have my next question is Oscar Robertson. I said Robinson. Oscar Robertson is ranked 12 spots below Patrick Ewing. So I'd like your thoughts on that, Ray.
I just think that Patrick is just a better player than Oscar Robertson, and that's all there is to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Period.
You just is this an era related thing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's the '90s, but I mean, Patrick played with such good competition. The '90s had such good competition. I mean, Oscar Robertson was great for his time, but Patrick had such a challenge against everybody in that era because you have what we bring out like 4 centers out of the 10 that we've all picked out of that era, maybe even 5. And I mean, Oscar had good competition, but that 90s era had such great competition that you can't deny, picking from that era and putting Patrick Ewing above certain people because of that competition. Like, I don't have a lot of newer players on mine because they don't have competition because they bring the competition to their teams. So, I mean, you can't judge players really that greatly between today's era, 90s era, and then because there's different competition. The 90s era was the pinnacle of competition. But then you come to this era here, there's nothing there because they're all on the same fucking team. So, I mean, I got to put Patrick Ewing up above certain people because of the competition he played against and the way he performed.
Well, you're not going to hear any arguments from me about the 80s and 90s being the greatest eras of basketball. I mean, you're not going to get any arguments from me on
awesome. That. I mean, just the MVP thing that you listed.
Yeah.
Talks about, and then we've been talking about all these 7-foot centers. They all had 7-foot centers back then.
Mm-hmm.
We listed all those guys that were drafted pretty high. I mentioned Stepanovic. He went 2 to the Pacers.
Yeah.
Number 1 that year, Ralph Sampson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were 7-footers that were good all over the league.
Yeah.
And
No, I mean every
it was
team
a tough
every
time.
team had a 7-footer.
Oh yeah.
They were varying degrees of how good they were, but they all
Right.
had them.
Well, I mean, that was the game plan for like 40 years. Was you had to have the center there, and the point guard and shooting guard, and the power forward and the small forward. Now we got just throw 4 shooters out there, and we might have a defensive player in the paint. It's a whole different game plan now.
Well, I heard a statistic the other day, and I might butcher it because I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like after Oscar Robertson won Robertson. I don't know why I keep doing that. That's terrible. Oscar Robertson won his MVP.
Mm-hmm.
A center won the MVP every year until like the 80s sometime.
Wow.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it was like some insane amount.
When did Oscar win his?
Like 64, 65, something
Yeah, it
like
was
that.
early 60s, early to mid 60s.
Yeah.
Well, you figure.
Well, Russell and Wilt won a bunch.
Willis
Right.
Reed.
Then
And
Jabbar won a
Then
bunch.
Jabbar came in.
Willis, yeah, you said Willis Reed got one. Walton got one.
Yeah.
That fills a lot. Right there.
I mean, Russell and Chamberlain got like 10 between the two of them.
Right. Jabbar had 6.
Yeah, and Walton's got one. Reed's got one. That's 18 right there.
Right. So
That gets us, yeah.
that covers a lot of years.
Yeah. But that, Ray's not wrong.
Right. Yeah.
For like 40 years, everybody's like, we got to build through the big man.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I'll leave the Oscar Robertson thing alone. We've beat the old guys to death quite a bit. My next one, and it'll be my last one to pick on you with, Ray, is Kevin Durant.
Okay. What about him?
Well, I mean, the same question I've been asking is you have Ewing ahead of Durant, which I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Doug or Drew, but you're the only one that has that. So I'm just asking you why you believe Ewing's better than Durant.
I mean, that's probably a fine line of, nitpick and bias. But like I've been saying this whole time, Durant's had a team. Patrick Ewing has not.
Durant has played with his fair share of Hall of Famers.
Yeah, he has.
Super team, super team, super team. Patrick Ewing, we'll get you from the grocery store and we'll pick you off the playground and we'll build a team here in New York.
Let's got some pretty good playgrounds, though.
Yeah, let's go scout out Rutgers Park, and we'll go grab you and put you on the practice squad. Hey, we'll just, we'll pay you a little bit here, and, we'll put you on the super team, bro, and we'll win a title. Yeah, whatever. That's why Patrick Ewing's up there. So, we can play, best scorer of all time, probably, for Kevin Durant. But if you can't play against competition, then you can't really fully be judged on your skill set. If you got a team of like 4 different shooters, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and we'll even throw Draymond in there. But, Patrick Ewing is just on the lonely island. Like, he was beating people up, competing against these great players. And I mean, I can't get past today's era where everybody just wants to play together. It's just crazy to me how you don't want to compete against the best on a different team to show your skill set. It's just crazy to me.
I'll agree with you on that, how Kevin Durant's done that. But I think Kevin Durant's overall ability to, like, score and stuff, and I think him and Patrick Ewing are basically the same height, I would say. And
yeah, pretty close. Kevin
Durant can do so much more. I mean, yeah, if you put him down in the post, Patrick Ewing's going to dominate Kevin Durant all day. But I think but as an overall player, I think Kevin Durant has a lot more skills than what
Patrick Ewing has. I'll give you that one. I mean, he's got Kevin Durant's got a better skill set. It's just, I mean, he would probably unlock more if he was competing against other people, because Kevin Durant's one of the prime guys I have on my team. But and he loves basketball, like he lives the game. And it just kills me that he wants to bring all these people in all the time instead of being that competitive player that I know Kevin Durant wants to be.
That's everyone's knocking
but
KD.
It just kills me for Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And that's probably why he's lower down the list.
Fair enough. I had something to say, and now I forgot what it was. Oh, by the way, Kevin Durant is listed at 235 on Basketball Reference. 5 pounds less than Patrick Ewing. Does anybody in this room think that's correct?
No. No way.
Nope. Not even close.
No.
So, anyway. Now, I will leave you alone for now, Ray, and I'm going to move on to Uncle Doug.
Okay.
I don't have a ton for you, Uncle Doug, but you have Patrick Ewing ranked ahead of Kevin Garnett.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you, like Ray, is why?
Well, good question. Kevin Garnett is going to be my problem because I don't know what I was thinking when I have him. I have him quite a ways down the list. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at that one day and thinking.
Yeah, you gave him a 45.
Yeah.
That's what I did to Ewing.
I don't know.
Because
he was down my power forward list. And I guess maybe I was just in love with centers when I was doing that.
Because, I mean,
Because he does have a championship. He's got an MVP. And
Defensive Player of the Year.
All kinds of stuff, too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like second all-time in, is it all defensive teams he's second all-time in? Or is it all NBAs? I think he's second in one of them, something like that. He has a boatload of one of them. I can't remember which.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I'm getting that confused with Duncan, to be honest with you.
Duncan has one of them. I know that for sure.
Yeah, I think Duncan has the most all defensive teams ever, I think.
Garnett has 12 all defensive teams.
Yeah, he does have 12.
And Tim Duncan has 15.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Tim has 15.
Yeah. He's 15 everything. 15 All-Star, 15 All-NBA, 15 All-Defense. Tim Duncan's got it all at power forward, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we unanimously put him 1 for a reason, I think.
It's not even close.
Yeah. Yeah, the argument starts at power forward at number 2.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my big question for you, Uncle Doug, was why Ewing over Garnett?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that Garnett's going to move up on my list. I mean, he may not move up on my power forward list, but he's going to move up on my overall list. I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, then, I know this is tricky because you go from one extreme to the other, center to point guard. But I think Chris Paul and Patrick Ewing's careers are pretty similar based on they both have crazy good end-of-career stats, like totals.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the championship. They don't have an MVP, but their stats are impressive. I mean, it's only one spot, but why do you think you put Ewing ahead of CP3?
Probably because of when they played.
Yeah, fair enough.
Would
fair enough.
probably be the, I have them right there together, but yeah, probably, like Ray said, watching Patrick play back in the day, and centers was just such a strong bunch on my list.
So ridiculous how good the centers were back then.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough.
All right. Well, I will leave you alone now, Uncle Doug, and move on to Mr. Drew here.
Ruh-roh.
But with Drew, I'm going the opposite direction.
I figured. I really did.
So just for the question, I got to question it. Why is Paul Arizin above Patrick Ewing?
Yeah, when I looked at that again, I did not remember doing that. I guess I did a year ago when I made this list. Yeah, that's going to get changed. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Patrick Ewing is better than Paul Arizin. I'm not saying Paul Arizin's coming off the list, but Patrick Ewing's going above him. I'll give you that. Yeah.
All right, my next one is the next guy up the list from Arizin is Dominique. Dominique is also not a winner. We know that.
Yes.
But Ewing had much more success winning than Dominique. So I guess that is my question.
Let me look at Dominiqu's stuff real quick so I can make sure I get everything right here when I find this. So I think part of the reason that I like having Dominique maybe a little bit higher is his scoring. I think it's a little bit higher, and Dominique definitely did not have great teams. They're probably maybe even a little worse than what Patrick Ewing had, honestly.
Yeah, that's probably.
I'm trying to think. Trying to find Dominique here. Where's
Dominique played with what? Doc Rivers, Kevin Willis, Tree Rollins,
Spud Webb.
Spud Webb, yeah.
I say Dominique's just not much. He's got a scoring title, so that's about all. But he's just 24, 6, and 2, so a steal and not even a block. So I think I just did it because of his scoring. Honestly, I think he scored a little bit more, brought more to the table than I think Ewing did.
All right.
In that aspect.
Well, here's my next one, because I do believe I've heard you now say, not just hear it from Wade, I've heard you say on here that you could beat Kuzi one-on-one, but you have Kuzi ranked higher than Patrick Ewing. So I'd like to hear your thought process there.
I think it's just because all the titles Bob Cousy has and that kind of stuff, and being the best point guard in his era and kind of like molding the point guard shape for the future generations and stuff. I think that's why I have Bob Cousy ahead of Patrick Ewing.
I agree with you on that one because
I say Ray has
Bob Cousy ahead of him too. So
yeah, Ray has Bob Cousy ahead.
I got to side with Drew here because I mean, when you're the phenomenal point guard of a whole decade, I mean, you got to throw him somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish Wade was here because he'd fucking just shut us down. But
you're like, Drew, you can beat him. He sucks.
Yeah, that's Wade's whole argument. He sucks.
Wade talked you into it, Drew. He's got you believing.
Well, I'm pretty sure I can beat Bob Cousy. I'm a believer.
All right. So now I'm going to go with the next one. But I am thinking about this. The Anthony Davis is ranked ahead of Patrick Ewing by quite a ways here.
Oh, God.
By about
how far?
Looks like 11 spots, maybe.
11 spots. Okay.
Yeah, 11 spots ahead of Patrick Ewing.
I think before AD went, to LA to play with LeBron. I think him and Patrick Ewing are in a pretty similar situation. Besides, Anthony Davis got hurt more, and obviously not playing as physical. But I think he didn't have much in New Orleans. He was 8 seed, getting beat by normally the teams that went to the championship. Like the one year he got beat by the Warriors when they went to the championship, or the Thunder, or the Spurs, or someone like that every year. But then he went to LA. And he left his town and won a championship. Didn't get Finals MVP, but that's debatable. But you never know. If he can stay healthy, I think he'll even keep going up on my list. But I think having the championship and him scoring and doing as much, and obviously he still has the end of his career for his numbers to fall. But as of right now, his numbers are obviously better than Patrick Ewing's, but they'll fall a little bit, I think.
I mean, I would assume so. Everyone
Everyone
seems to fall
does.
at the end of their career. I
Unless
mean,
you just decide as soon as you think you're done, you just stop, which no one ever does that. No one ever thinks they're done. So.
well, my computer's being super, super slow here for some reason. It's just, I'm getting the spinning circle right now.
We've been having that trouble tonight. And I only had trouble with the computers doing that. I wonder if there's something going
Anthony
on.
Davis before last season.
I got an update getting ready to go whenever I get done here.
Oh.
So that might be what it is.
Yeah, maybe something's going on, yeah.
Well, I was going to... oh, there it is. Finally came up, but it's half off my screen, so I don't know what the hell's going on here. You're seeing this, right, Drew?
Yeah.
Can't pull it off.
Yeah,
There
I
we
don't know
go.
what's happening.
All right, so that's Ewing's first 8 years in the league, which is where we're at with Davis. He's at 23 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 3 blocks, 52% from the field. That was Ewing's first.
Which before last year when I wrote all Davis' stats down, he was 24, 10, and 2. So they're pretty similar. And the title for all defense, which it's easier for him to get all defense than it was for Patrick Ewing. So I'll give Ewing that.
I don't know. I mean, I know I've gone over it quite a bit. My big thing is just some of these guys, it's too early for me to say they're better than all-time greats. You know, like you've played 400, 500, 600 games. You know, like you know, you're still at your peak, so nothing has started to decline yet. You know, it's just hard for me to say, well, I mean, yeah, I could, try and predict the future and be like, well, if Anthony Davis continues this for 6 more years, he's be better than Patrick Ewing. If we're talking that way, I'd be like, yeah. But I just it's hard for me to say today Anthony Davis has a better career than Patrick Ewing. That's just where I'm at with it.
Agreed. I can go with that. Yep.
Well, Drew, I think I'm done picking on you as well. I think
All right.
I'm done with coming at you guys with where you had guys ranked. Does anybody want to ask me any questions where I got Ewing ranked?
Let me look at you real quick.
Yeah, where do you have Ewing ranked?
35th, isn't that what I said earlier?
Why do you have Patrick?
No, I have him 30th.
Why do you have Patrick Ewing ahead of Oscar Robertson?
That's based pretty much solely on era.
Right.
And Oscar was a non-championship guy until late in his career when he joined forces with Jabbar.
All right.
So I mean, he does have a championship, but it's not like he continued on with that Sacramento team and went on and drugged them to a championship. He did sign and play with at that time would have been the greatest player of all time to, win a championship. So
Same thing like earlier when someone talked about Chris Paul, kind of same boat. Just Ewing was a little bit better what Chris Paul did in situations.
Well, to be honest with you, a year ago when I made this list, he's still hadn't made a finals, but I don't know how much that would have swayed me anyway. But Chris Paul here in the last year or so has rapidly risen up the assist list and the steals list. And I think probably it was Chris Paul's not done yet. Let's see how this adds up. But Ewing is obviously a finished product.
All right. That's all I got. Those are just two that you asked. I wanted to see what you thought on them.
Fair enough.
Oh.
Well, anybody else got any more before we close up on old Patrick Ewing.
Let me see here real fast. Let me see if I can manufacture an argument here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The list is pretty sound. I
I agree.
Ray, you can't say things like that.
hey, there's just nitpick things like, you got Ewing above David Robinson or above Dwayne Wade or above Kevin Durant. It's just
hold on.
biased things here.
I don't have Ewing above Robinson. Robinson's ranked high.
It's behind. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, but you shouldn't. What I'm trying to say is you probably have Patrick Ewing above David Robinson and Dwayne Wade, and you have Kevin McHale shit ton above everybody. Why is that?
Well, I don't know if it's a shit ton. He's like what?
21.
He's 9 slots ahead of Ewing, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I think it boils down to championships.
So just the championship thing kind of was the championship thing probably the big anchor for your list here?
Oh, championships! I've not denied it at all during this. Championships play a heavy role on me. Now, like I said many times before, not all championships are created equal. I'm not saying Robert Ory's championships are the same as Mike's championships because they have Ory has more championships than Michael,
yeah.
but that's not the same, obviously.
Right.
Or Gary Payton that Wade hates. Wade absolutely despises Gary Payton's
We're
championship.
thinking about you, Wade.
And they did play similar era-wise, so it wasn't like McHale was in the 60s or the 2010s, where an era where I really struggle with. So, yeah.
So let's look at mine for
Okay.
a second. I have Bill Russell at 5, Wilt at 6, and Kareem and Akeem all back to back. I have, and you have Akeem at 4, and you have a good solid championship anchor on your players. What puts Akeem at 4, unlike how I have Bill Russell with 11 championships at 5?
Yes, like I said, I do love championships, but I also struggle with eras. But Russell statistically doesn't stack up to any of these guys, so I think that is me giving his championships justice by putting him in my top 10. I don't remember exactly where I have Russell. He's high though.
8.
I have him at 8. So I think having Russell at 8 is me giving him his championships justice because statistically he doesn't stack up to these guys. So that's really where I'm at with that. I'm not an anti-Russell guy by any means, but I was actually just looking at some lists earlier today, centers list, because of our Patrick Ewing episode, and there's a lot of guys that have Russell 1 and 2 on their center lists. Lots of lists had Russell at 1 and 2. 1 or 2, not 1 and 2. He had so many championships, he got both spots, 1 and 2.
Jeez.
Okay. I'm just kind of wondering because, I throw Hakeem, in high regard myself. But, the center is just so hard sometimes.
Let's be honest, I don't think anybody disagrees. Center is the most stacked position on this list.
Oh, I
God.
think so.
It is,
Yeah,
sure.
It's so hard.
Yeah, and I think Wade said before we started, I think he was like, well, we all know we're going to have an argument about the number 1 center spot because Alex is going to put Dream there, knowing that probably the rest of you were going to put Kareem there. So there's Wade knew that. Wade and I have had this argument for years, so he knew that going in.
Yep. We'll have a good time at the top of the center spot, but
I think we'll have a fun time at the top of our list. Just in
Oh,
general.
Yeah.
But any of the centers, that you have could probably be interchangeable with each other. It's just a biased opinion at the top there, but Akeem, he's top tier, but you also got to show love to the 11 championship Bill Russell. So I mean,
Well, I think Wade's the guy that has Russell the low. I think Wade has Russell in the 30s. If I remember
I think I
correctly.
have Russell at like 19. I think.
Wade has Bill Russell at 25.
25.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Yep.
so I mean, the centers are pretty strong in the top 20. So it just shows you how deep the last 40 years have been with centers dominating.
Well, I think we discussed this in a different episode. I'm pretty sure that me, Wade, Doug, and Drew all have 8 centers exactly the same. And
Yeah.
Ray has 7 of those 8 exactly the same. So our centers lists are very similar.
Yeah.
It's just the very end when we like this. It's pretty
Right.
much the first 7 guys make all of our lists.
Yeah.
And then it's like most of us are like, yeah, then there's Ewing. And then our last 2 guys were like,
Yeah.
you know, we get some Willis Reed, we get some Dwight Howard, we get some George Mikan,
Right.
we get some Dikembe Mutombo. You know, like there's some love going different directions. But we were like, these first 8 guys are pretty much locks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
You
pretty
know?
solid.
Yeah.
So yeah. So do we want to give our closing statements on Patrick Ewing and move on to trivia?
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
Sounds good. So let's go the opposite way, Ray. What you got?
All right. I mean, the man was dominant from year one in high school to Georgetown through, I don't even know how many years he was in the NBA, but I mean, them last 2
17.
were 17. So the last, like, 3 were shit, but the man dominated through a whole decade amongst competition that just which was phenomenal. I mean, you can't deny the 90s. It was just a crazy time for a dominant center. And if you can't put Patrick Ewing on your list, you are in concussion protocol and you need to be out like the rest of the whole season because you're just tripping, because Patrick Ewing is that guy and he was that dominant and you got to put him on your list.
Fair enough. That would lead to me. I don't really necessarily disagree with what you just said there, Ray. I do think Ewing absolutely belongs on this list. But in all honesty, I don't know anybody, not just the 5 of us, but guests like Schaller and Mark and stuff that have been on here. They all have Ewing on their list as well. I don't think there's a ton of questioning of whether Ewing belongs. Where he's at, maybe,
Yeah.
but where he belongs, I don't think there's a ton of questioning. He is lower end for most of us, I think, because of the lack of hardware, really. No MVPs, no championships, lack of super big awards. So, he does have some All-NBAs and some All-Defense, in the Rookie of the Year. He made the top 50 and he made the top 75. Which are all nothing bad, obviously. And his statistics are pretty solid. I mean, his blocks are impressive. His points per game are pretty impressive. He's not the greatest rebounder for a center. He's, solid but not great, which I think is a little bit of a knock. But like I said earlier, I think Patrick Ewing would probably be higher on our list and maybe completely different on our list if he played in a different time other than four of the greatest centers of all time and Michael Jordan. Maybe if he played in the 2000s, maybe he has a championship or 2, and we're talking about Patrick Ewing being completely different, but we can't necessarily say that, so he doesn't, and this is where I have him historically. Uncle Doug?
Yeah, I think you summed it up really well. For me, he's the only center on my list without an MVP, well, other than Mikan, and without a title. Give him a lot of respect because he's a great player, and if he had the accolades, he'd probably be quite a bit higher. So yeah, that's a pretty good summation.
Drew?
Basically what all you guys have said, how he's a great player and his stats look good, but it's just he's the only one on the centers list, like my dad, did not have championship and no MVP, which is a stacked position for a guy on my list to be at 10 with when we go to other positions where guys don't have either one, and they're at least at 8 or 7 or sometimes even higher, especially with the title one. We have some people. Trying to think of the highest someone without a title.
I don't know. I put my lists away.
I can't think. But we've definitely got people higher than what we have Patrick Ewing with on list.
Well, Barkley, I'm sure.
Barkley,
I'm sure somebody's got Barkley pretty high.
I have Stockton at 13, and he doesn't have a title.
Yeah. He's probably, second point guard?
He's my second point guard. Yeah,
second point guard, 13. He has no title, so that tells you how tough the center are.
Wade has Barkley at 19. He's his first non-title guy. On Drew's list, it looks like your first one is Karl Malone at 17. So far we're all in the teens here with our non-championship guys. And Uncle Doug has Malone at 14. And Ray has Iverson at 17. So, yeah, all right there in the middle of the teens, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on, Drew.
That's basically all I've got for Ewing.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up the Patrick Ewing portion of this episode and move us into trivia. And I assume Drew wants to go first.
Of course.
All right, what you got, Drew?
All right. Steph Curry the other night had 50-plus points, 10-plus assists in 35 minutes or less. Who else in the last 40 years has done this?
So, 50 points, 10 assists on 35 or less minutes?
Yes. In the past 40 seasons.
All right.
50 points, 10 assists?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have my answer.
And
there's only one other player that's done it.
I wonder if you take the minutes restriction off, how many it opens up to.
Yeah.
not that one.
Because, I still don't believe there'd be a lot of players at 50 and 10.
Yeah. All right, I got to guess.
Okay.
All right,
Anybody?
let's see him.
I got Harden.
I got Harden.
I got Westbrook.
This is James Harden.
Ah,
we did.
Sweetness.
I haven't had a point for a while. It's kind of nice.
Man, I ain't had one in like a year and a half.
All right.
You or me, Ray?
I'll go ahead and go.
All right.
I think I got a good one here. Hopefully I can stump Alex this week.
See?
Who played with 4 different NBA teams in the 1992-93 season?
4 teams in one season?
Who played with 4 different
jeez.
teams in the 92-93 season?
Holy cow. It's got to be somebody that sucked, right? Because you can't be traded that many times in a season. So it had to be like you're getting cut and signed somewhere else, like or 10-day contracts or something.
That's just
Unless the rules were different in 92. I was pretty young at that point.
That's awful.
Yeah, I'm stumped.
Hell yeah.
Wow. I mean, can you answer this, Ray? Are we even going to know who the fuck this is?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't even have a guess. I have no idea.
I'll write something down. Give me a second.
I was going to go with an easier question, and I seen this, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm doing this one.
That's a good question.
Let's
I
go
like it.
with...
All right, I got an answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not even going to
No.
guess.
All right.
No, wait.
I bow to you, Ray. Good question.
Just call me Sneaky Himbo.
I don't even know.
Not even going to get my pen out because nobody's answering this.
No. I was trying to think of someone who sucked. Oh, all right. I know it's not right, but I just got to say it. All right, I'm ready.
I got Paul Smith.
Nope.
Tom Chambers.
Ray?
Hold on. Do what?
Yeah.
No, I'm writing down the answer because it's a hard spelling
Oh.
last name. All right, so the answer is Alex, Stivrins. If you can make out the last
You're
name.
right. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Alex the Veins.
Trevins.
Okay.
Well,
So-
thanks for that history lesson, Ray.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime I can help.
Well, my trivia question is going to be a history lesson as well.
All right.
Okay. What is the most games played in a season by a player?
So you want the number of games?
Number of games the player played.
Like the whole season.
Yep.
Ooh.
I got an answer.
Oh, man. Now I got to do calculations.
Not counting the playoffs. We're talking regular season.
Oh, just regular
Just
season?
regular season.
Well,
I feel like I shouldn't put 82 down because I feel like there's some trick here.
Well, never
Okay.
mind. I'm not going to say anything.
okay, I got it locked in.
Come on, Drew.
I got it. All right.
All right. I said 84.
I also said 84.
I went with 82.
It's actually 88.
Ooh.
Walt Bellamy back in 68-69. He was traded mid-season, and the team he was traded to had played 6 less games than
Oh.
the other team, so he ended up playing 88 games that season.
Okay.
It's fairly common for guys to get 83 because of that, but
Right.
88's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it
You get
is.
6
It's-
extra games.
Yeah, 6 games.
I
They must
figured-
have had some games canceled or something to get that far
Must have
behind.
been something weird going
I
on.
figured there was something weird. Like I knew it wouldn't be 82 exactly. 'Cause
Yeah.
All right, here's my question. Since 2016, an NBA player has taken 42 game-tying or go-ahead three-pointers in the final minute of a game. Who is it? It's the most by a lot. Like they've taken 42 game-tying or game-winning, potential game-tying or game-winning three-pointers in the final minute of an NBA game. 42 of them since 2016.
I'm just hoping it's the obvious answer.
Reggie Miller.
Not in 2016. Unless you're playing 2K or NBA Live 2005.
Okay, I got one.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, what you guys got?
Stephen Curry.
I said Harden.
I said Donovan Mitchell.
The correct answer is Russell Westbrook,
Oh, my God.
Oh my gosh.
who on those 42 shots is shooting 19%.
Why is he taking these shots?
Wow.
I kind of wish Wade was here for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
It's kind of crazy that out of all this, Wade has become the Kawhi Leonard and Russell Westbrook guy. And the Allen Iverson hater. I didn't see this coming. All right.
either.
After this week's tallies, the trivia scores are as follows. Ray with 18, Drew with 37, Doug with 38, Alex with 43, and Wade with 49. And yes, Wade's lead was cut into again this week.
Yeah, we got to get Wade back.
Yeah, indeed. I'm going to take his crown. Yeah. All of a sudden, Wade's going to come back and he's like, I'm in third place. What the hell happened? They're like, ah. He'll be butthurt. All right, well, we appreciate you tuning in for this Patrick Ewing episode. We appreciate your listen this week, and we would also appreciate if you would tune in next week so that you could hear about Scottie Pippen.
Oh,
That
boy.
will be one of the largest differences of rankings we have on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
So
dun.
please tune in next week to Sports the NEMO Way.